The in-season tournament semi-finals are decided. The quarterfinals are over, and we're going to look at all of the action from Tuesday in the NBA. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and a roadblock is a task that only one team member can perform. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always, at redrock_Beeble, on TikTok at redrock_Beeble, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Thank you also for making the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast your first listen every day. We are free and we are available on all platforms. Quick shout out, let's hit 70,000 subs. We are like 500 away, 600 away on YouTube, and I'd love to hit 70,000 really, really soon. So if you haven't subscribed, go and knock that out right now. Or knock something else out, whatever you want to do. We're here to talk about the in-season tournament games. As always, I am starting to record this podcast before the end of the second game, so I can't tell you exactly who's in. But if you wait to the end of the show, then I'll discuss the results as we go through things chronologically. Why do I do it this way? Well, it's so that I can have everything pre-recorded, ready to go, so that once the last game finishes, all I've got to do is record that one, and then I can get the show out to you guys as quickly as I can, versus waiting until the final game finishes, and then I could go and record the whole show, and then it would be an extra hour or so until the show actually releases. So that's why I do it this way. For those of you, there might not be any of you, for those of you who might be wondering why I do it that way. Let's look at the news and the notes and what we need to pay attention to for the moment in fantasy basketball. We'll start with just a little bit of a news update. We did get some Utah Jazz injury updates. Lauri Markkanen, Jordy Clarkson remain sidelined, which does open up a lot of streaming options on that team. Kelly Olynyk is also out. So Colin Sexton becomes a great stream. Omer Yurtseven's in that mix as well. And in deeper leagues, Taylor Hendricks. Hendricks played 16 minutes last game. Simone Fontecchio's played 30 in each of the last two, and Sexton's going to get a lot of shot attempts, and it helps Keontae George's usage pump up too. Now, depending on whether or not you have an open roster spot, I don't know for tomorrow. You can check that out, but they are going to be very interesting options indeed. Long term, the value is not really there, but if we're looking just for tomorrow, and I don't expect that Clarkson or Markkanen are going to be out too much longer. Lowry is he's around pushing 2 weeks now on that hamstring injury. 2 to 3 weeks is a pretty normal time frame for a hamstring, so I'd imagine he's a chance to return either Friday or at least for Monday. So it's not a long-term solution, but there is some short-term action there. In Portland, something has cropped up as well. Jeremy Grant, to nobody's surprise, is out with that concussion injury. DeAndre Ayton popped up, though, as doubtful with a knee problem, and Anthony Simons is questionable. We know that. So there are going to be opportunities here. I think what might happen, I expect Simons to play, so Simons and Brogdon will start. Sharp will move across to the 3, and Kamara will move to the 4, is my guess. They could start Jabari Walker at the 5. I think it'll be Duop Reith. But what this means is that Jabari Walker, even if he doesn't start at the 4, gets a big bump to be the backup power forward and the backup center. I think he gets backup center minutes over Moses Brown. So Jabari Walker and Duop Reith become streamable options. It does help guys like Scoot as well, a little bit of thigh ball. But again, do you even have the roster spots? Because Ayton's got knee soreness and Grant has got a concussion, but is that a long-term thing? Like Grant maybe misses Friday, but again, it's a terrible week. Would you even use Jabari Walker on a Friday with 13 games on? Probably not. But it is at least a data point we're going to get to see Reith starting, to see Walker in a larger role, to see Simon, Scoot, Brogdon, Sharp all together with that absence of Grant, which opens up a lot of things. It's something for us to watch, even if it can't be immediately actioned for fantasy right now. The other one is Josh Green is out with an elbow issue for a couple of weeks. Derek Jones Jr. will move back into the starting lineup. Now, most of Jones's minutes do get bumped up when something happens to Kyrie or Grant Williams, and at the moment, Kyrie, Williams, and Hardaway are all questionable. So Jones could actually be even a startable guy on Wednesday. But with Green out for a few weeks, Jones's value does push up to maybe even being worth grabbing and then riding out for a couple of weeks. No guarantee on that because it hasn't always been the way that it's worked with that team, but there's not much in terms of threes here. So instead of Jones playing those 20 minutes, he probably does need to play 25 unless they want to rely heavily on Dante Exum at the 3 or Olivier Maxence-Prosper to jump into that rotation, but Omax hasn't been playing a ton anyway. So they're probably the big news updates at the moment. We get more information tomorrow. Kelly Oubre returns, and I guess Simons is likely to be back, but we'll cover all that in tomorrow's show. Let's look at the most added players on the waiver wire over the last 24 hours. A lot of those guys were streams for today. The Knicks obviously lost their game against the Bucks, so the streams there can be dropped. Dante DiVincenzo up 25%. Grayson Allen up 20% was a great add. Not only for the fact that they play in the tournament, and again, I'm recording this before I know whether they won, but his value's high anyway, at least until Bradley Beal returns, and then he's probably going to be droppable. Cam Reddish up 17%. Well, yeah, that's going to be a drop or a hold depending on what happens. Josh Hart, 15%. That's an interesting one. He was sort of borderline 12 team, but if I needed to open up a roster spot for something else interesting to stream in on Thursday, I would have no compunction in dropping Josh Hart. I just don't think his upside is high enough for me to stress over holding him when the production and the minutes are so variable. Torian Prince up 11% and Isaiah Hartenstein up 3%. That's all just stream stuff for today. So not a huge amount that's particularly interesting, I don't think, with those group of names. What we do see on the other side of things with the drops is that Harrison Barnes, the pencil, Harrison Barnes. Barnesy, he's down 20%. Good. He should have been streamed in for yesterday, and now you don't need to hold him, so get him out of here. Slamming Sammy Hauser's down 14%. He's still going to be hanging around as an elite three-point streamer. Another indicator of why prioritizing threes in fantasy drafts is probably a losing proposition, because you can find blokes like this on the wire quite often. Hauser is a drop, though, and then we can stream him in later on. Jordy Hawkins down 13%. The Pelicans do play on Thursday, but Hawkins will probably play 0 minutes. We saw him play 0 minutes on Monday. So while it was the right move, I think, to just grab someone who you thought might be in the rotation, he's not. So move on. Al Horford down 8. Absolutely, totally 100% fine with that. Porzingis may return on Friday. He may not, but there are 13 games on. So would you even use Horford? And then he's going to move back to the bench and not be a rosterable guy anyway. So cut your losses early on that if you need to. Goga's down 7%. I don't really get that. Yeah, I know Goga struggled in the last game, but Carter's not back yet. I'm not sure I would have made that move, while Dyson Daniels down 6%. It's a pretty easy drop as well, much like Hawkins. The only thing I will say is that there is a chance that Daniels plays 10 minutes on Thursday, and that might be enough, given there's only going to be four teams playing and limited rotation guys available on the wire. So I would have been probably a little bit more cautious in dropping old mate, the Dustbuster Dyson Daniels, even though his minutes were relatively limited. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Our partners at eBay Motors have teamed up with me and the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast to bring you some of the best fantasy picks each week, all season long, whether it is any sort of daily fantasy stuff or you're looking through the waiver wire to work out who you're going to add. We're going to help you with players that are going to be a guaranteed fit on your roster. Who have we got to look at today? Well, we just talked Dallas, so let's talk Derek Lively, who's available still in 50% of leagues. He shouldn't be. He shouldn't be available in any category league ever. Points leagues, I get it. Maybe you don't want to deal with him and his low points total, but we saw the minutes push up really big last time for Lively, and with Grant Williams questionable, we might see a little bit more from him. His ability to have high field goal percentage, good rebounds and blocks is already useful, and I think there's a little bit of upside in some of his other categories as well. He's floating around your waiver wire, and if he is, don't let it be the case. Go and add him and see how you go. So, Derek Lively is going to give you a real boost short-term, and I think long-term as well. And eBay Motors knows that with a championship team, it's all about each player being a perfect fit, and it is exactly the same with your vehicle. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you can make sure your ride stays running smoothly. Brake kits, LED headlights, roof rack bumpers, whatever your baby needs, eBay Motors has it. In fact, I wish that eBay's guaranteed fit was available over here, because I need to replace the roof of my car. It got smashed when we had a storm and a fence fell on it and broke it. Smash the glass. So I need to get a new roof. So maybe eBay's guaranteed fit would have been perfect for me. But unfortunately, eBay guaranteed fit is only available to US customers. But they've got this guarantee that it's going to fit your ride first time or your money back. And at these prices, you're burning rubber and not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. eBay guaranteed fit only available to US customers. Eligible items only, and exclusions apply. So that is the waiver wire stuff done, the news and notes done. Let's talk in-season tournament. Not as compelling of a game as yesterday because it wasn't as close. The Bucks had this one in hand from the Knicks pretty comfortably in the end. 146-122 the final score. 146 the Bucks scored. 146. And now they play the Pacers in the semifinal. Over under 300? It won't be, but man. 146-122 final score. Let's talk Knicks. We're not really shocked at what they did with their rotation in a general rule, but it's basically just like a regular season rotation for them. That's what they do every game. Randall was great. 41, 6 and 5 on 37%. He was 11 of 12 from the line, 74 from the field. Of course, no defensive stats. I think he was perfect from the field in the first half as well. He was a team worst to minus 21, but that's the Julius Randle experience, isn't it? Jalen Brunson had some struggles, 24, 3 and 6 on some bad free throws and 45% from the field on very high attempts. His numbers this year have been a little bit all over the place. Some really down moments, some really high moments. He's fluctuating quite a bit. Consistency hasn't been great. While Rowan Barrett, you look at the line, you go, man, 23 points, fantastic. He's back on track, is he? I don't know. This is the problem. 23 and 8 is great. 1-3, 1 assist, yuck. No steals, no blocks, 39% shooting. But I am willing to concede with RJ Barrett that I think his free throws might be fixed. He was 8 of 8 from the line here. He's over 80% from the season, and that's been a big bugbear with Barrett. Oh, that's a lot of B's. Big bugbear with Barrett all his career, that he can't hit free throws and he can't shoot from the field. But he has fixed the free throws, it seems. It also seems suboptimal that you'd go into a game and give RJ Barrett 30%. And you're going to be shocked. I have some criticisms. I have some notes for Tom Thibodeau. This role of Brunson 33 usage, Barrett 30 usage, and Randall 31 usage, while Quentin Grimes, now, honestly, this is true, 2.2% usage for Quentin Grimes. 2. Like, the man is not an inept offensive player. He's actually quite good. 2% usage. What about the centers? Mitch Robinson, 6%. At some point, Tom, there is a reason why you do get bundled out of the playoffs in embarrassing fashion. It's because there's no variability, there's no creativity with these offenses. I want my man Quentin Grimes out of here. I need him on a team that's actually fair income. Running this where there's only 3 guys who take every shot seems crazy. But that's what they do. I talked about Joshie Hart already. 11 and 4 with 3 steals. Not a bad game. In fact, a pretty good game. But only 26 minutes, and I just don't trust the playing time for him because Barrett's minutes went up, so Hart's went down. Well, what do we do with Emmanuel quickly? And I think, I'm not sure, but I think the answer is that we jack him off. 19 minutes, 7, 1, and 3. He is outside the top 200 over the last week. He's 173rd for the season. And while we like the player and we like what he did, everything that we sort of looked at with the Knicks this offseason has come true. There's too many guys for him to get a consistent 28 minutes a night. Playing the 240 game with the Knicks was a really strong indicator of how we needed to be worried about some of the numbers. And he's just not playing. 14% shooting, 19 minutes. Shout out to contract years. DiVincenzo had 7 points in 17, while, as I said, Grimes went scoreless in 18 minutes. Now, I made a joke. It's not really a joke. It's true. About him having 2% usage, right? I said, that's amazing. I tweeted this out, and someone said, yeah, why would you give him the ball when he just can't brick everything at the rim? And I went, okay, let's have a look at his rim finishing numbers. 34% at the rim. That is so low that dunks and threes in their percentile didn't even put a percentile up. They just went, it's bad. Like it's worse in the league. But how do you finish at 34% at the rim? Now, part of the reason they didn't actually give him percentile is he doesn't take enough attempts there. And then I messaged that back to the guy who tweeted it at me. And he's like, man, I was only joking. I was actually talking about RJ Barrett not finishing at the rim. So everyone just can't finish at the rim on this team, giggity. So Grimesy, I just want more from you, mate, and I want you in a better situation, and it's really frustrating. It is probably the ultimate buy low here for Grimes for Dynasty because a couple of things. He's not going to be on the Knicks long-term, most likely. Players move all the time. And Tom Thibodeau is not going to be Quentin Grimes' coach his whole career. That's just not going to be the case. And with the absolute nonsense that Grimes is putting up, he's an Andrew Wiggins-esque 306 this season. You can get him for cheap. He's a top 100 future prospect, I think, Grimes. But he's just buried here. I was talking quickly, but all these guys mixed in, it's just so hard to figure out what they're doing. Well, it's not actually. We know what they're doing. Jack shit. Mitchie Robinson had 2 points with 4 rebounds and 3 assists. That's got to be a career high for Mitch Robinson, 3 assists, surely. 2 steals and a block, and he didn't quite take it from here because he only took 2 shots. Just an unfathomably low usage again, but it's so predictable. While my man Isaiah Hartenstein had 4, 7, and 5 with 2 blocks. Those people who added him, actually, that worked out pretty well. He was one of their better fantasy producers today, despite just the 18 minutes. For the Bucks, they were insane. 60% shooting is a crazy number. 61 from 3 is more crazy. You cannot lose a game when you're shooting 60% from 3. You can't do it. Lillard had 28 and 7 assists, 5 threes and 62%, while Giannis had 35, 8 and 10 with 3 steals on 68% shooting. Now, unfortunately, Giannis missed his free throws, but he has been awesome, even without punting, 9th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. We worried about the lack of defensive stats from Giannis last season. They're back. Brook Lopez's usage has dropped back off, and that was part of the issue I had with him in the preseason. It was like, I'm not sure where the usage is going to go with Lillard and Middleton playing a full season. And then he had that little run with some really big scoring, but it has fallen away here. 9 points, but the defensive stats still there. 3 steals, 3 blocks, continues to be really good. Just not quite as good as that little hot stretch that he had. Punch Bob played 24 minutes only, 13 and 4 with 2 blocks, which is okay. Like he's probably worth, he's definitely worth a hold now with them playing on Thursday. And Chrissy Middleton, 26 minutes, 14, 4 and 7. It's been frustrating rostering Middleton this season. I do think you need to persist. Leaky Beasley, 18 points with 6 threes. This is the ultimate Leaky Beasley game. 3 rebounds, no other stats, but 18 points with 6 threes. He's shooting the absolute lights out, absolute piss out of it at the moment. He is going to fall off. He is going to have a stretch where he hits 5% of his threes and does nothing for 3 weeks. This will happen, and then you will move on. I don't know when it will happen, but it doesn't matter because we just ride with Leaky for now. And again, another great opportunity for him on Thursday. What about the Spuds? Well, unfortunately, if you play on ESPN, you couldn't add AJ Green, who had 3 threes and 9 points in the first half, because he's not available. Now, why would he be? He only played 350 minutes in the NBA last season, so why would he be available for you to pick up in fantasy? It wouldn't make sense, would it? I can't expect too much for guys to have people available to pick up from over a year ago. That is a tough ask, and sometimes I guess I am a hard taskmaster. Shout out to Tony Gregg. But, you know, that's unreasonable of me to expect someone who's been in the NBA for a year and a half to be available to pick up in fantasy. Why would I expect that? But he was good, AJ Green. Cameron Payne had 12 points in 14, while Beauchamp had 6 points in 19. If you're looking for a scrub, I use that term endearingly. If you're looking for one of these blokes who's not a regular to be an option for Thursday, I would do Payne, Beauchamp, and then Green, but I'm not even sure that Green plays much in that semi-final. He just got red hot in this one early, and then that's about it. But Payne and Beauchamp are probably the guys you look to get even a handful of minutes out of on Thursday, which will be important given the fact that there's only 3 other teams playing, and some of those rotations are going to be pretty tight. I'm guessing the Pacers guys are probably going to be the best guys we look at, because even the Pelicans bench, maybe it's an RG Marshall or Jose Alvarado, they're going to be better options than like an AJ Green or a Cameron Payne or a Marjon Beauchamp in that situation. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Game Time app. Tickets, we love them, but it's annoying having to buy them sometimes because, A, you don't know what the seat is like. Oh, what's this seat? Is this row AA? Is AA before single A? What does it mean? What's my view like? Is there a big-ass pole in front of me? I don't know. But on Game Time, they've got the view from your seat. You click the button, bang. Look at that, perfect view. Or, if you're feeling frisky and you want to save a little bit of money, they've got the zone deal. So you just pick a section, and they choose the seat for you. And on average, you're going to save up to 18%. They've got flash deals, last-minute tickets. They'll chuck an alert out on your phone. Feel that buzzing in your pocket. You pick it out and go, oh my God, it's Game Time. What do they got to say? Do they love me? No, they don't. But what they do have is tickets available for an event in my area right now at a discounted price. And that's where you can get that bargain. Maybe you want to buy it for somebody else. Maybe you want to buy it as a gesture that you love somebody else. I'm not here to tell you about your romantic life, but I am here to tell you about Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's get ready for the second game, the last game of the day, Suns Lakers. And now we know the second team from today, the 4th team overall, the last semi-finalist. It is Of course, the Los Angeles Lakers. Go wild with your conspiracy theories. Drop them in the comments below. Yes, there was a questionable refereeing decision towards the end of the game. The Lakers were already up at that point by like 3 or whatever, and they were doing my favorite thing, trying to play a foul game and then no fouls and timeouts. 2 of my things that I hate. The foul game at the end of a game, the back and forth, let's foul and keep extend the game, and timeouts. Get rid of them both, we don't have this problem. But of course, no one cares about that part of it. They just want to say that the league rigged it for the Lakers. Admittedly, the Suns did get the short end of the stick in this game, and that was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. But anyway, the Lakers win 106-103. Durant and Booker battled foul trouble, another thing that I despise. 31-7-4 with 4 threes for Durant, 71%, another elite performance. While Booker's struggling a little at the moment. Now, you wouldn't know it by looking at 21-11-6 with a 1-1, but he shot only 38% from the field. We love the 8 of 8 from the line. Grayson Allen, 39 minutes, 21, and sort of not quite a Richie Beno, but 2 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals with 4 triples. He's been really, really strong. The thing here is with Allen is I think he is worth having until Beal returns, but if you needed to drop him to add a streamer for Thursday and he's your worst player, go ahead. The same goes with Eric Gordon, who didn't play particularly well. 35 minutes, 7, 4, and 4, 2 steals and a block. They're not great numbers, but he has been good while Beal is out. But again, if you just want to get extra players in on Thursday, I think you're okay to drop them. It's not going to kill you in the long run. Drew Eubanks had 6 points in 18 minutes, and we talked about it. We did it on the show. He was a sell-high man. It was our mate, Yusuf Nurkic. 3 points on 33% shooting. He had 8 rebounds and 4 assists. That's not a disaster night, although the percentages were pretty bad. Maybe it was a disaster night. Dud of the night coming up later on. Look, we knew that there was going to be some sort of drop-off there. Jordan Goodwin played 15 minutes for 7 and 6. He will not be in the rotation, I'm guessing, when Beal returns, but he also played more minutes than Bates Diop and Okogie in this game. For the Lakers, the LeBron, what is going on with this guy? He's unbelievable. How is this possible? 31, 8 and 11, 5 steals, 48 from the field, 5 of 6 from the line. Continues to be ludicrous, while Davis had 27 and 15 and 2 blocks. We got some answers to the Lakers' rotational issues. And this is important because we're going to stream these guys in on Thursday. Christian Wood out of the rotation. Get him off your roster. He was already headed towards being on the way out, and now he's a clear out. Rui Hachimura played 21 minutes. Vanderbilt Bar played 15. Reddish played 30. Prince played 27. And Max Christie played 8. That would suggest to me that for the semifinal, Max Christie will be out of the rotation. So, Reddish, Prince, Vanderbilt, and Hachimura become excellent stream options for Thursday. Austin Reeves, only 27 minutes, but he had 20 and 6, 3 threes, including that key 3 late, 44%. I still don't understand. Look, I can get it. You can play him off the bench. I understand that. I just don't get playing him only 27 minutes when AD and LeBron are playing 40. So we can get 30 minutes into Cam Reddish, who, despite his defensive value, was a -7, while Reeves was a +17. At some point, those 8 minutes or so that Christie is getting is going to head towards Reeves, making him, I guess, somewhat of a buy low. Only 24 minutes for D'Angelo Russell. He just didn't have it. 27% shooting, 8 points and 5 assists. He had been playing really well before this. We knew there was going to be something that dropped off, and some of his shooting numbers were likely to fall, and they did here. That's okay. I don't know how much of a risk there is of him losing minutes, but the risk of Gabe Vincent, which is something we talked about a lot in the preseason, it might be something to watch. Vincent's on the way back. Prince had 5 points with 3 steals. Reddish had 4 points in 30 minutes. Now, Prince, Reddish, Vanderbilt, Hachimura, none of these guys are 12-team league options as a long-term thing. But they're all absolutely vital stream guys for Thursday. You want guys who can play and perform, and there's only 4 teams on. The Bucks have almost nobody. The Pelicans reduced the value of Daniels and Hawkins, so we're really looking there at Alvarado and Najee Marshall. The Pacers, well, Toppin and Neesmith, really good value. But do you want TJ McConnell or Andrew Nembhard? I don't know. But these Prince, Reddish, Vanderbilt, Hachimura, there's a lot in that. They're probably going to be the priority streams. I'm guessing I'll do that show tomorrow, looking at the real priority streams for Thursday. But they're the guys that I'm looking at, even though their individual numbers aren't that strong. At least we've got a good role, and there is a level of upside that they can achieve in the semifinal on Thursday. So that is it. The in-season tournament, we're down to 4 teams. Milwaukee versus Indiana, the Lakers, and the Pelicans, all in Vegas now, and we'll see what happens. That's not the end of this show, though, because we do have to go through now and give us a recap of the stream of the day, so let's do that now. The 10-team category stream of the day was Eric Gordon. That didn't work out that well, 7-4-4 with 2 steals and a block. Your 12-team category stream did. Grayson Allen, 21 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals and a block. Love that one. Your 14-team streamer, Dante DiVincenzo, 7-1-2 with no defensive stats, not particularly good. And your 16-team streamer was Drew Eubanks, who had 6-2-1 with a steal, which is actually all right for a 16-teamer. Your points leagues one, they hit. Grayson Allen, Yahoo points, 35.4. ESPN points, Grayson Allen with 41 points, hits there as well. Now, let's do the lines of the night. The monstrous line of the night, well, it looked like it was going to be Julius Randle. I was preparing graphics. I thought it's going to be Julius Randle who gets this. But no, it wasn't. It was, of course, LeBron James. 31 points, 8 rebounds, and 11 assists for this absolute legendary GOAT who is putting up some just absurd numbers at this age. And really, he's obviously not the same player that he used to be. But I don't think that really matters. He's just ridiculous, and he continues to be ridiculous. The waiver wire line of the night, the best player for the day that's rostered in 50% or fewer leagues, and we do go to the same game, the second game of the day, and we give it to Grayson Allen, who had 21, 2-2. I just spoke about him. He is probably worth a hold, but if you did want to move on to grab a Thursday stream, I get it. You're not going to be losing too much because I don't think that Allen can maintain 12-team value when Bradley Beal does eventually return. The young gun of the night, there weren't very many good options to choose from. I'm going to be honest with you. So we are going to go to the first game and we're going to look at Marjon Beauchamp. And that's how we know it's not a good night for the first or second year players. 6 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist for Beauchamp. While the dud of the night, we are going to go back to Phoenix and the Los Angeles Lakers to give you that dud of the night. I think you can guess what it is. I talked about it already. The big fella, Yusuf Nurkic, from sell high to dud of the night. 3 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists there to Nurk. And then, as we do to round out the show, let's look at the top 6 performers across those various categories that we like to look at. Your top 6 players in category leagues today: LeBron James, Julius Randle, Damian Lillard, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Your top 6 players available in over 50% of leagues. Number 1 was Grayson Allen. Cameron Payne, stream option for Thursday. Hartenstein, drop him. Beauchamp, yeah, look, maybe, but I think there are going to be better streams for Thursday. AJ Green, yeah, ESPN, bad luck. I don't even know if I'd bother in other formats. He's the real bottom of the barrel stream, I think. And then Jordan Goodwin was all right today, but yeah, we're not talking much value there. And then he is a clear drop outside of dynasty formats or very, very deep leagues. And lastly, we look at the top 6 points producers for the day. Number 1 was LeBron, followed by Giannis, Anthony Davis, Julius Randle, Damian Lillard, and lastly, it was Kevin Durant. And that, guys, will do it for me today. Tomorrow, we are back with an absolute ball burster, 11-game recap. We've got a waiver wire show, and then a Thursday in-season tournament semi-final preview show. That's all coming up on tomorrow's slate. Don't forget, follow this podcast. I'm stopping saying that. I've got to just break that habit. I don't believe in following audio podcasts anymore. Do it. Leave reviews. That's great. But if you're listening on audio, you're already subscribed. I know that. But if you are here on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave your comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.